I Came By is a Netflix original and tells the story of a young rebellious graffiti artist who targets the homes of the rich and powerful. However, he then breaks into the wrong house and discovers a shocking secret, and so begins our thriller. Now, there's a lot more to the plot than that, but I refuse to go into major spoilers, so I'm going to keep this brief and straight to the point. In the beginning, we get Toby, played by the excellent George McKay from 1917. He's a passionate, angry young man who wants to fight the system, politically motivated, graffitiing up the place. He's a typical vandal, but I understood where he was coming from and his hunger for taking down the rich. And I loved the contrast between him and his best friend Jay, who used to be Toby's sidekick, but now that Jay has a kid on the way, he no longer wants to play a part in this political movement. I thought that dynamic was interesting and quite moving. Speaking of moving, we got Kelly Macdonald here playing as Toby's mother. Now, Kelly Macdonald is always fantastic, and this film is no exception. Her scenes are filled with so much poignancy and loss, and it actually did kind of get to me as the film went on. Like, there are some scenes where she makes some discoveries, and I'm like, dude, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. It actually did get to me. Some of these scenes really were emotionally devastating. I was very moved by her performance, and it only gets better as the film goes on. There are some really clever characters in this film. How they get from A to B is quite unpredictable, and that's actually the best part of this film. It's so unpredictable. Anything could happen to anyone at any point. Side characters become main characters then become side characters. It was so bizarre, and I loved it. The way they were developing all of the little moments, and how one action in the beginning slowly unfolds and there's a domino effect that ebbs and flows throughout the whole thing was cool. This was a very peculiar journey. I was digging it. 40 minutes in, I was in love with it. And then my head was cracked open and I realized my favorite thing about I Came By is also its worst feature. Yes, I appreciate its unpredictability, but Jesus, it works against it as time goes by. The midpoint was so cluttered. There's just an army of scenes that don't seem to be connected very well. I'll give you some quick examples without going into major spoilers. During the midpoint, the character Jay gets arrested. We then see him in the police station for a few minutes, and I have no idea why this was in the film. It doesn't do much to develop the character nor the plot, it's just wasted energy. And even the villain gets himself arrested during the midpoint. He starts antagonizing the police and gets in trouble, and I have no idea why he did this, nor why this had to be in the film. Now, I know these quick examples seem quite small, however, holy moly, this film is filled to the brim with scenes like that. If I was to nitpick and go into each little thing that just shouldn't have been in there, I would make this video well over 20 minutes long. I'm not saying that to be funny, I mean that sincerely. It was ridiculous how much pointless information was just forced down my throat. And this cluttered structure lasted from the midpoint all the way up until the very end. And when you combine that with the way the characters' perspectives all get mixed up, and there are plenty of characters who shouldn't be in there, like the policewoman or Jay's girlfriend who's very underdeveloped, it's all kind of crazy. The passage of time all gets blurred into one, and it's really hard to connect all the scenes together in my head. It's all just a blur of noise. And when you include those annoying, irritating jump scare noises, political messages that don't have anything that interesting to say, and a villain that could have been very interesting but just wasn't explored very well, the whole thing turned into a headache for me. And again, without going into spoilers, when it comes to the ending, yeah, it works, I like it, but I swear that this ending could have come about 10 to 20 minutes earlier. So in the end, I Came By is very unique and quite original. It does have a brain in its head, it's got a unique structure, and a lot of the scenes really did get to me. But the convoluted script, the abundance of scenes, the quantity of scenes as opposed to the quality of them, it all just weighed it down for me. And by the end of it, I think a lot of this should have been cut out. I do see a great film in here trying to come out. This is original, I want to see films do a lot more of this. But the script just held it back. It was all a bit of a clusterfuck and definitely wasted potential in my opinion. I'm gonna give I Came By a 5.5 out of 10. Definitely a missed opportunity in my eyes, but I still would recommend it to you if you like thrillers. this is quite different. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay jiggy. The badger appreciates you.